moving along to our reports. Item 7.1, the Council Investments and Borrowings report. I'll just get there myself. So I'd like to call Andrea up to talk to this report. Thank you.
So this report is...
I don't think it's on. Sorry.
So this report is as where we were standing at December 2022, and it largely had remained unchanged from the quarter prior. However, the next quarter, the 31st of March 23, there will be some changes to this report because towards the end of February, we borrowed an additional $25 million, which will have an impact on our debt to revenue ratio. So we'll see what that does to the bottom line at that point in time.
Excellent. Questions, councillors? No questions in relation to that? Someone like to move that? Oh, over here. I'm not seeing that red light. Quick to the Councillor Booth.
In regards to our interest, how much money we're allowed to, there's a band or a level of interest that we're actually allowed to pay in relation to rates as a percentage. What is that? What is our policy in regards to that?
That I'm not sure. I would have to get back to you about that.
I don't believe there's any fixed policy around the percentage of interest that we can or cannot pay. So we certainly have policies around our revenue to debt, but there's no policy around what percentage our interest should or should not be.
Okay.
Excellent. Your worship, Mayor.
Sorry, I mean, to your point, it's an interesting one because it's the affordability, it's the ability to pay interest, etc., on long-term debt, but it might affect credit ratings, as an example, with Fitch, if it were substantially higher than it is now. So that's where it could.
And that's a really good point. So Fitch look at our affordability, our debt levels, the amount of interest that we're paying now, the amount of interest that we're going to pay in the future. And so if all of a sudden 30% of our rate take was spent on interest, then that would become an issue. But it's certainly not an issue at this present point in time.
Yeah, I guess I just had an idea that it was either one or the other, whichever it was greater. So at the moment we're 2.8 or 2.1 times, or X amount of interest as a percentage of income. So I'm not sure, I just read that somewhere, but perhaps it wasn't right.
As Andrew mentioned, we'll look into that and come back to you if that's the case.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so someone like to note that you worship the Mayor and the seconder, Councillor Shannon. All those in favour? Against, so carried. Moving to item 7.2, financial report from the months ending January 2023. So that's that 7-month period. And again, I'd like to call Andrea to talk to that report. Thank you.
So as at the 31st of January 2023 actually, we had a deficit of $7 million. Majority of that deficit remains the 4.5 million depreciation, with waste and roading contributing. The remaining areas continue to be on track with what was originally budgeted. And we look at the financial position, once again, that's remained the same, but borrowings, as I alluded before, end of February will go up by 25 million. So they were taken out by LGFA with various rates and various terms. So the rates that we were able to get was between 4.75 and 5.75, and we took out some up to 5 years.
And I think it's important to note that while the headline number of 7 million sounds large in terms of the depreciation, the emergency works around roading and the waste, all of these items are items that we're addressing in the annual plan. So next Tuesday we're considering the annual plan in its entirety, tomorrow councillors will receive the papers in relation to that, and that's where a lot of these things are addressed. At the moment, there are issues this year, we're addressing them as part of the annual plan going forward.
Okay, questions, councillor Pillington?
Yeah, I note 4.5, Jason, in depreciation for the year, it'll be about 7.7 mil, and we're addressing it next year. So how are we getting around it this year? The $7.7 million we're going to be short.
So it's a non-cash, depreciation is non-cash. We are still spending, we're still certainly spending in terms of the work that we're doing around the renewals and replacements and the contracts that we have in place. It will come through as a deficit at the end of the year, and certainly not funded, whereas next year, in terms of the annual plan, we look at how we're going to fund it going forward.
Okay. And my second question is on page 26. I see we've dropped, taken 12.6 million off our annual capital spend. What are we not doing to save that 12.6 million?
Can I just clarify, is this the difference between the forecast and the budget that we have? Probably Mr Dixon could speak to that. From my sense, there's a few timing differences in terms of some of the programs that we're doing. So it's not like we're making a decision not to do anything. There are just some projects which, through their timing, have moved from, like the art gallery potentially, from being done this financial year into the next financial year. So some of those will be carried forward. So it's not like
It would be good to have that detail though in the report, you know, so that makes sense, because that's quite a big number.
Yeah, of the notable projects, and among that figure is your theatre is one where we were planning just to be underway by now, so that's quite I think about 6 million or 7 million in regard to that. There's also the airport terminal extension that is being brought forward because we're still assessing the needs around the earthquake strengthening and what Air New Zealand requirements are. So they're two that I know of. Yeah, there may be others there that but generally, yeah, we intend to do them. It's just a timing issue.
And the annual plan information that will come out tomorrow will show clearly what we're moving from this financial year to next financial year, and we'll detail that out.
It's good to have that clarity. And my last question, the green triangle asterisks on the statement of financial position, there's no notes to what they actually mean. There's about 4 of them.
Sorry, repeat the question in terms of...
On page 38, there seems to be some green asterisks of the financial assets. So there's some notations on there, but there's no explanation of what they are.
So what those are is just a spreadsheet formula saying that the formula above is not consistent with the formula below. So there's actually no commentary behind that. It's just a change in formula from a spreadsheet perspective.
Okay, that's handy to know.
Sorry, yes. And they come up with, we can't get rid of them. Yeah.
Excellent. Councillor Bowen.
That's all right. Yeah, excuse. Question. Sorry, I forget what page, but it was 200. That's probably for you, Andrew. 283k over budget. Road and street landscape costs, mainly CBD maintenance. What are some of the CBD maintenance projects we've had to do?
That is related partially to the CBD or hub or city town strategy. So we asked, there is a little bit of operational expenditure there. But also lift damage that we're having, vandalism, is certainly increasing the costs in that area as well. You know, although unfortunately we're not covered for insurance because of the excess side of things, but yeah, that is adding up. We have increased our cleaning regime and about to step that up yet again as well.
So, I mean, my only thinking around that is that costs should lie where they lie in regard to if it's related to the city town, then it should fit with in those budgets, unless it is actually pure R&M effectively, which that budget is, I'm assuming.
The city town budget sits within road, streets and landscapes activity.
So you're saying this is part of the city town?
Yes,
Then
it
so,
includes
okay, so
city
it's
town
not...
and also general CBD maintenance as well.
Okay,
and also noting that, cost escalations too, is, 20% up, is the latest cost escalation increases.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, so there's, yeah, it would be good to, I mean, what I'd like to see, we've got our CBD maintenance budget, and it's just, do you know what I mean? It's not very clear, it's quite cloudy, so.
Yes, we do track those individual expenditures below this level, but so that information is available.
Well, yeah, I'll have a think over lunch. Thanks.
So what I'm hearing is that in terms of splitting out between city town and just regular repairs and maintenance, just to understand what the drivers of those things are. Yeah. And city town they've got capital budgets and a bit of operational budget as well, so that's why it comes in.
Kawhakatahi?
Oh, yeah, look, just generally into Councillor Piddington's point, if there's issues, we're quite happy to sort of notate and make those adjustments if there are issues that will enhance the readability and understandability of the reports in terms of some of those legends or colour codings or whatever they are. So we can note those as they come through, because we do want to try and give an understanding of what is in there.
Yeah, I guess the theatre was noted what that spend was, but the other, which is quite a chunk, wasn't. So on those big numbers, it would be good to know which projects they're assigned to.
Yeah, and we'll look to sort of provide a bit more detail in subsequent reports as they come through.
Yes, Councillor Pye.
It's probably a question for Mr Dixon. On page 36, we say that the cemetery's new site purchase is currently 2 million over budget, and that's timing. In the Environmental Services Committee, the submission on the district plan, we talked about a zone change required for a cemetery purchase. Are they two different bits of land, or have we paid for something subject to a zone change, or how does that work?
Yeah, we have purchased the land, and then it's up to us to do the zone change. But given that, cemeteries is a critical piece of community infrastructure, we're reasonably confident that will be successful in that change.
Any other questions? Just touching on that old chestnut, I know that some really, really prepared councillors here that if you have had prep on the papers and you could get those into, like Jason, beforehand, despite any revelations that always come up and questions come out of questions, that's fine. It would be really good, because then you can get that real considered, appropriate level of information there right from the beginning. So we've got a call back on the interest, but on that one, so just on that old chestnut, sorry guys. So with that in mind, and no other further matters in relation to that, someone like to move that paper? Councillor Jackson? Good on you. And Councillor Parker. All those in favour? Against? So carried. And moving through. I have no other matters of urgent business or in minor nature, so I'll call this meeting closed at 11:58.
11:27.
Oh, sorry. 11:20. I thought they had merged at the top. Mind you, it was probably more wishful thinking than anything. Thank you. Correct.